Win number 4.
Really great stuff.
Jeez, he's racking them up. He's, what, 9 for Weber, 8 for Ricardo, 4 wins down already.
And 50 races in to his career.
50, yeah. Well, if you ask Karoon, 50 victories.
50 race wins.
Jeez, can you imagine one day we could be watching him get a 50th win and then just being like, oh, you remember when they accidentally fucked that up and said he had already 50 victories? Oh, that was...
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if this year we look at him as being the most winningest Australian Formula 1 driver.
It's looking good for it.
He's won to date on season, he's won 50% of the races.
Yeah, out of 4. That's, 2 out of 4. That's 50.
20 to go. Yeah. He's only got to win 5 more to match. That's 25% of the races, a quarter. So numbers are in his favour.
How hard was it to wake up at 1 a.m. for this one?
It was tough. Yeah.
I
set
work
my
today
alarm
as well.
for set my alarm for 12:50 and snooze it accidentally.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to be jumping onto the Discord to watch. I thought you were bailing.
I was almost snoozed right through it without even thinking, but got up, got out of bed. This podcast is making me dig deep into my sleep regression and getting on to watch these late races. But this is our first challenge of the season.
This one, yeah. 1 a.m. is like tough. That's tough.
Yeah, because it's like, do you go to bed like I did? I went to sleep before, but it's like, do you sleep before and then catch them after? Do you just stay up for it? I was in two minds, but I got some sleep before. And
plus, there was a early morning Warriors game.
Yeah, Warriors Clippers.
Had to really. It was tough work last night.
I set my alarm for that too, and I just
look, you got the important one. Watching Oscar win a Grand Prix, that is worth any amount of sleep.
Yeah, and it was probably absolutely most convincing he's had.
He's looking dominant. Yeah.
All
right, let's speed run it.
Let's do it.
Round 1. Player 1. Ready. Player 2. Ready. Fight.
Giancarlo, you are still 2 seconds a lap slower than Fernando. This cannot be possible.
Midweek, Dr. Helmut Marko shared news we have all been waiting on. Max's child is not expected to clash with a race weekend. I guess we finally now know what type of doctor Helmut is. Bahrain qualifying saw yet another Haas bite the sandy walls. The distraction not enough to prevent the inevitable, as Oscar humiliates Lando to start from P1. Liam Lawson continues to show the world why Ricciardo should still be in the Red Bull family as he again qualifies the lowest of them all. The FIA were 45 minutes late to delete Hulk's lap time, preventing Albon from out-qualifying his teammate. I guess we aren't the only people not keeping an eye on Sauber. As the race gets underway, Lando looks like Schumacher out there. Mick, that is, as he struggled to again put a weekend together strongly. Meanwhile, Russell is also getting inspiration from Schumacher, Ralph, that is, but unlike Lando, not for his lack of racecraft, rather his antics outside the cockpit. Oscar digs deep into his Schumacher bag, Michael that is, dominating this race as he perfects a lights to flag race, commanding an unassailable lead and becoming the first multi-winner of the season. And we again get to enjoy that sweet national anthem. The gap between the two Red Bull drivers closes as Yuki finishes only 11 seconds behind Max. Oscar erodes Lando's championship lead to just 3 points after his 23-point deficit leaving Melbourne. Who would have honestly thought we'd get an Aussie World Champion before we get GTA 6?
I can't believe that McLaren had never won at Bahrain. Well, had they never won, or they had never won.
Never won.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
It's now become Bahrain's sort of grown on me. It's become one of my more favorite tracks, which is like I didn't think I would enjoy. It helps when Oscar's a Grand Prix winner of it. Mm-hmm. But if they got rid of all the fake sand and put real sand in, I think it would be one of my favorite tracks. I like the layout of the track. I think it's one of the better ones. Obviously, we got plenty of overtaking, so that helps. We need overtaking in the sport. This track at least accommodates that.
Lots of the way the corners are set up, you get a lot of crisscross racing, which is good. Plus 3 DRS zones.
That's a bit excessive.
It was almost a slam dunk. If you could it was almost better to not defend into turn 1. Like if you defend into turn 1 and you got yourself an awkward exit out of 2, like you're a shot duck anyway.
Yeah.
Going down to 3.
I
It was
like-
a tough one, but good racing.
And was
that
it
track.
turn 8 that goes onto the back straight, and it's like a braking zone where you're kind
You're
of turning
and
as well.
braking and
Seems
tough.
just feels real awkward to do, like
Mhm.
as a driver. So
Mm.
yeah, Bahrain, I don't mind it.
All those F1 24, 25, 23 games
Mm.
get you good in practice on how tough that braking zone is.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how they don't lock up every single time there, to be
Mhm.
honest. So
Yep.
um,
Guess that's why they're professionals.
yeah, yeah.
Can you hear me now? But I can hear you, no? You still don't hear me? But you answer still.
Got some patch notes for this week.
Mhm.
So there wasn't a whole ton of news, as you can probably imagine, at
That
this
was
time of
only
year.
a week post the last race.
Yeah, yeah. But I dug deep, and I've got 3 little nuggets here for you.
All right.
So, Robert Reed leaves the FIA.
Sick.
Do you know who Robert
Nope.
Reed is?
No chance.
I didn't think you would. So, he's some dude who's very, very high up in the FIA, like really high. Like this is an important guy.
Okay.
You know, I'm pretty sure like vice president high.
Wow.
You know.
Okay.
So, big guy.
Lives in France, obviously.
Don't know.
That's
Don't
where
care.
the FIA.
Didn't look into it.
That's where the FIA based.
Well,
you have to.
oh,
In Paris.
good chance then. So anyway, he's he quit. He left the FIA. He resigned. I think looking into it, it seemed to be like cultural and ethic reasons.
That's interesting.
It is. So
It's not something, not words you kind of want to hear.
no. So clearly he's gotten to a point where he's just gone, fuck it, I'm out. Which to me means that Mohammed bin
Ben,
Salayem,
okay,
the
president.
yeah, is that how you say his last name? Salayem.
I don't know. I know it's Ben. He's got a bit of Ben. Got a bit of Mohammed
Let's
in
call him MBS.
there. Okay.
Turns out he could actually be a pretty good chance of being a douchebag from the
Mm.
sounds of it. So I think what I'm gathering is like this guy's quit because he can't deal with his shit and what's going on in the FIA right now.
Maybe Robert Reed. Is that what his name is? Yeah. Maybe he's a bit of a potty mouth, and they gave him an ultimatum.
What, quit the swearing or
Yeah.
Or leave.
Swearing or leave the FIA, buddy.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't. He just couldn't bring himself to do it.
that yeah, maybe different ethical reasons, but that could be one of them. So yeah, that seems to be kind of the biggest news coming out of the week. The second patch note I have is the F1 bosses reject the V10 engines for 2026. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, kind of. They sort of snuck that one past, so it was easy to miss. But all the teams and everyone got together and sort of collectively spoke about it and voted. And
Well, luckily, it doesn't matter. It's
What,
up
you
to them.
saying-
They can have their say.
what the teams?
Hmm.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess you got to have the manufacturers there, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Partaking.
But
Seems like half the teams are open to V10 engines and half of them don't want to know anything about it.
I just don't know what the alternative is, and I'm looking forward to finding out. But
yeah, on one hand, I want the excitement of the V10s. Like, bring that back. Like, to have a little bit of that, even just the nostalgia that's attached to the V10s. For, there's a lot of still old fan base, old viewers that watch the sport. Having that little touchstone would be awesome to have back. To hear them screaming around the track again. I mean, I do miss going to the Formula One and just having my ears bleeding.
Well, let me ask you: when you think of Ferraris, and when you think of McLarens outside of Formula One, do you imagine them having V6 engines, or do you
No.
imagine them having V10, V12 engines?
Yeah, I mean, exactly
So
right.
I think that's the other thing. That's what I hate. It's like, how is the pinnacle of motorsport running V6s? Camrys have V6s.
yeah.
Like Formula One, like running a V6 engine. Like, that's just pathetic.
I get the sustainability side of it, but they can make these V10s more sustainable than what
biofuel.
they could.
Because they can't go full electric. They're sitting in this holding pattern of hybrid.
like in between, yeah.
Yeah, Camrys.
The other thing, I guess that is sort of hampering it is how many V10 manufacturers are out there now. Like, how many people are actually building V10s in terms of.
Who cares? It's everything in Formula One's bespoke. Like, it's not like they're getting this hybrid V6 turboed engine
No.
out of their road manufacturing plant. Like, everything's bespoke. Like,
No, and
doesn't
I think that's for the technical side of things. It would be more interesting again to have the
Mm.
V10s there
yeah,
because,
Oh,
like, that argument is null and void. It's not like the V6 turbo hybrids are developing and moving the car world forward. They're very much...
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit, but I think Formula One need to not forget they're an entertainment business.
Number one, first and foremost.
And
that's
what
where the money
do the fans
comes.
want?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're suckers and we're still rocking up week in, week out. Doesn't matter what show they put on for us, but...
And they probably know that, right? They probably know they don't have to do this big, drastic, sweeping engine change because people are still going to turn up and watch it no matter what.
I mean, look at the first 2 rounds. They were both record-breaking crowds. Like, they're not in trouble with the product.
If anything, they're enjoying a peak right now, and it seems to just only be going up from there. So...
that's a bummer to hear the teams aren't on board.
Yeah, I'm a bit sad about it. Like, just bring them back, man. It's such an easy little change to make the sport so much more interesting and thrilling. So,
and they've got to admit defeat at some point. They can't go full electric. There's no point banging on hybrids forever. Just go back to fossil fuel engines, but then change it to biofuel. Yeah. So you have V10. You have raw horsepower. You have an engine, a big engine in a racing car.
It would be good to have it back.
And then just make it biofuel. I don't care. Like, make it carbon neutral or whatever you got to do. But
they reckon there's still a chance before 2030, but who cares? Why not implement it now?
And I can only imagine these engines are more expensive than just a traditional sort of V10 without all the tech.
Oh, yeah.
And probably more reliable.
Well, the cars themselves are worth $1 million, you know?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Third patch note. Have you noticed how much Alonso has been glazing Verstappen lately?
I did see his pole up in Japan. Alonso had a big old smile on his face.
Yeah.
Proud dad.
I've recorded 3 instances of him glazing Verstappen. So it makes me think, is he like Stroll's right-hand man to sort of recruit Verstappen over to Aston Martin? Get some eyes on Aston Martin, what they're doing? Because... It just feels like it's a bit out of nowhere. That all of a sudden Alonso is just high praise for Verstappen.
Yeah.
So the 3 I have, and it all came from basically the last week. Quote, only he can do it. There is no other driver at the moment that can drive a car and put it so high, higher than the car deserves. It was a magical moment.
Yeah, Japan quali.
Max reminds me of 2012. He's keeping the championship alive with the 3rd or 4th fastest car.
Okay, bit of self-praising there.
I was going to say, so he's obviously comparing him.
As I said last week, he had a 39-point lead in the championship with 7 races to go. So I don't think his car was that bad, but anyway.
And then again, the championships that Max has won so far, apart from 2023, they were in a more fighting way than the last 2 eras of champions. So he's full of high praise for MaxiPad right now.
Got a lot of words.
A lot of words.
Very interesting.
So I wonder if Lance is...
Yeah, you might be onto it.
You know, maybe that's why he has the seat. We got a man on the inside.
Because I think Alonso might have some kind of post-driving career plans with Aston Martin.
Would make sense, right?
Yeah, so if he was the cornerstone to getting one Max Verstappen in that organisation and he ushers him in and good things happen, I'm sure that'd look good on his resume.
I haven't seen Max specifically say anything in regards to Aston Martin. Obviously, he had all the hoopla with McLaren and saying about how, you know, if he was McLaren, he would have won. He would have won in Japan.
Did he say that?
Yeah. So he was basically giving the McLaren boys for essentially having the best car and not being able to win with it. And
Which is fair.
Lando was calling him out, saying that he would be surprisingly disappointed, sort of referring to the car's not actually as good as you think it is.
Lando.
Playing into the mind games of Max. Whereas on the other hand, you got Oscar, he kind of just stays out of it. He's like, well, it doesn't matter.
Someone's got to have the best car for a start.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the McLaren is definitely the best car. There's no hands. There's the hands down. There's no question. That car is the meta right now. That thing is just a weapon. But you still got to have a driver that can tame it and get the job done. You know,
and they nearly have two.
yeah, they nearly. So, anyway, who knows? Maybe Alonso's the key to getting Verstappen over.
Hey, that's interesting. You might be onto something there.
The only other thing I'll say real quick on it is, Ted sort of highlighted after the race that he saw Verstappen's manager just absolutely giving it to Helmut Marko, just ripping his face off about something.
Yeah, right.
And then apparently Helmut Marko and Horner and all the big wigs at Red Bull got together for a crisis meeting. So clearly, I think after the race, Max wasn't too stoked about something, and his manager has gone in to clarify a few things. So who knows? All these things could be hinting at a shift or a change. Red Bull may be falling apart a little bit, and where is Max potentially going to land next if they can't get their shit together? Because I'm sure that he doesn't want to be sitting down in 7th and 8th fighting.
No, I'm sure this race wasn't his highlight.
No.
Especially coming off a win.
No.
And I said to you last week, talking about drivers' tracks, I said we're not going to see Max come out in Bahrain and have the same kind of performance.
You did say that, yeah.
Because he's not. Because the car, on a track like this, the car makes the difference.
Yeah.
You don't have that same input from the driver to make big swings.
So what's Lando's excuse then?
Well, you still have to be a good driver, right?
Yeah. All right, that's all the patch notes I have for this week.
I pressed it. The pit confirm button is the OK button, Brad.
So we'll go into the walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start us off?
Yeah, well, the first thing I've got is the whole lap time being deleted for Hulk 45 minutes later. It's just
in qualifying.
Yep. Just further proof and evidence that Formula 1 need to implement more of these gravel traps and physical track limits.
Well, that's true. You avoid that whole situation again, right there.
I mean, it's an absolute fuck up on their behalf.
I feel sorry for Albon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's only the third time in 50 races he's been outqualified by a teammate.
Yeah.
And it comes at the hands of the FIA, who, I mean, he still put the car 16th or whatever, pace-wise. But if the FIA were quick enough onto the deletion, then he does get a free kick into Q2.
So that sucks and all, but that's your first talking point of this race?
I'm just saying.
Is Hulkenberg not having his lap deleted quick enough?
Well,
you don't want to, start off with the McLaren performance and Oscar Piastri getting his fourth win?
I am a true believer in what we're doing here, and Oscar's not my driver.
Well, you can still talk about him in the walkthrough.
You'll bring him up. I trust that you'll bring him up.
So you're saying you don't want to talk about him at all?
Oscar?
Yeah.
I know you'll bring him up. How dare I step on your toes?
All right. Okay. So I'll bring him up then.
Okay. But I'm just saying that they need to bring the track limits in. We've harped on it enough, but it's just further proof.
Yeah. Well, that's thrilling and all, but Piastri has clearly emerged as a legitimate World Drivers' Championship contender as of this race. I mean, it looked like he was as of this race. I mean, it looked like he was on his way up. I mean,
he's got himself right in the game now.
Well, that's the thing. We mentioned about his deficit from Australia and how he was going to have to do quite a bit of work, and especially if Lando was always going to be 1 or 2, you're only taking small little chips away from his lead.
Yeah.
But
4 races later.
Well, 3 races later.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you got the sprint. He's pretty much, rectified that difference. So he not only does he look like a genuine title contender, he looks like he is the guy that's going to go on and win it. I mean, we still got 20 rounds. The year is long.
Oh yeah.
But we know how dominant he was in Europe last year, and we haven't even raced a single lap in Europe yet. And he's already positioned himself right where he needs to be, going into where he knows he's strongest.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I did, I'll tip my own horn. I did tell you, I texted you before the race. I said he'll, after quali, I said he'll either be leading the championship or be within 3 points after the race.
Yep.
And Chris might even chuck the screenshot up, you never know. But
was he in that text chain?
No, but I'll send it to him. I got him covered. Yeah, he's right there, 3 points behind. Oscar he's got a genuine, there's a genuine argument that could be had that he could have won every race this year so far.
Well, you could even condense it down more. You could say 2 little mistakes, essentially has prevented him from going back to back wins.
Yeah, and you can't say that about any other driver.
No.
Norris clearly didn't have the pace in this race, clearly didn't have the pace in Japan, as he was closest to Max to fight and he couldn't. Obviously, Max is nowhere, but yeah, straight away, he was so close to getting the pole in Australia, and he was quicker than Lando. We saw that. It happens. It didn't get the win. He got the second win. And then we saw again, he one mistake in quality, just misses out on pole. And it was quicker than Lando again in Suzuka. And was cock blocked by Lando to get into.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, unlucky that that happened on a track where overtaking, as it turned out, was near impossible.
Yep.
So
I'd argue he absolutely, he could have won. He could be in a position. He could have been in a position right now where he's won 4 in a row.
Yeah,
he's had the pace and he's been quicker. He's been quicker than Lando.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that's the exciting thing.
Yeah. So I don't know what I take more enjoyment from. Oscar finding this success right now. Like, it is, as Aussie fans who have been watching the sport for quite some time and just being desperate to see an Aussie driver fighting for a title again. Last one being Webber. Or
Webber.
Well, yeah, Webber.
Webber, when you're talking title-wise.
When you're talking titles. And he's about to take that throne from his mentor. He's about to be the next Australian driver to lead a championship. I mean, he's 3 points away, so let's assume that he continues this trend and he could be leading the championship by next round.
Could be.
You know, he's taking his manager and his mentor's legacy and going forward with it. So super exciting, but part of me is also as excited that Lando just seems to be crumbling.
Yeah.
Like, all these little mistakes that are coming into his game right now, whether it's qualifying or in the race, he looks rattled. Like, in his
It's similar to mistakes we saw last year, where again we said last year showed he just doesn't have the resolve to be world champion.
If Verstappen doesn't have the car, Lando doesn't have the confidence, and Oscar's got both now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just looks like who's going to stop him at this point?
Oscar just needs a consistency.
Yeah.
Like, I was a little bit nervous on his pole lap. I was like, come on, man, just please put it together. Like, please put it together. Because we know at the moment, qualifying
he was down on George in the first sector as well, from memory.
Maybe.
And then he had just...
The last two were purple.
Yeah.
And then obviously Lando crosses the line and he's sixth, which is just phenomenal.
No one saw that coming.
No. That's the type of differential that... I mean, besides an off in Australia, Oscar's never been that far behind Lando.
No. As I was saying, Lando to me looks rattled, and he's coming up with all sorts of excuses. He's looking a bit bratty again. He doesn't look comfortable. He's blaming the car. He's saying that he's not comfortable driving the car, which you don't hear any of that from Oscar. You don't hear Oscar complaining about the car. He has been pretty much upfront with saying, like, well, yeah, it seems like we do have the best car. Whereas, like, Lando is trying to downplay it. It's almost like he's putting in some precautionary measures for if he doesn't deliver. Yeah, you know, he can blame it on this or that or whatever it might be. You know, I still love that British media, whether it's Sky Sports or whatever, they still glaze him. You know, like, oh, Lando, great fight back drive. You know, bullshit, bullshit. You are in the best car on the grid. You started 6th and you finished 3rd.
Yeah.
And you had a grid box issue where you couldn't line up properly.
Yeah. Overshot a little bit.
Yeah. You overtook, was it Hamilton?
You're stepping on my drivers. Just calm down a little bit.
Oh, this is where
I've got all this stuff noted.
Well, I'm just mentioning all these mistakes.
He had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, all these mistakes that keep just creeping in now all of a sudden, and it's just he's making it hard on himself. So
yeah. He's again not putting race, as I said, he's not putting the weekends together that he needs. Like, it all starts with qualifying, and he did not do a good enough job, not even close.
No, but he still made up 3 positions by the first corner.
He did, but Ferrari looked like a great strategy initially. But I said to you when we were watching it, I said, why didn't they diverse their strategy? Why did they lock them both on the exact same strategy? Start on the same tyres, pit at the same time, and going medium to medium, force their hand. And I said to you, as soon as they did it, I said, I don't know why they did that, because now no matter what, they have to run the hard later. And you never know. If you get a safety car, you got to put on awkward time. It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The medium to medium was great call for their initial early race pace. but then it just locked them in to have to put the hard tyres on when everyone else just got a fresh set of, or a younger set of mediums
Putting
for
him
the
at
back
a
end.
disadvantage
back
for the-
end-
Yep.
Yeah, and we saw Hamilton was catching Lando
Mm.
at the end of that stint for the safety car come out. So there's a chance if Ferrari do diverse their strategies a little bit, if not both Ferraris, one Ferrari finishes ahead of Lando for sure.
Yeah.
So a bit more Ferrari strategy
Well-
woes helped Lando as well in that race, get those spots.
Well, as Oscar fans, I found myself cheering for both George Russell, which I've never done before, and Hamilton.
Yeah.
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 So
Yep.
that says a lot.
Exactly. I can't help but agree.
So on Ferrari, they finally get a decent points haul, coming 4th and 5th.
Yep.
They didn't get DQ'd,
No.
so they keep their results.
No.
So that's good. That's progress.
Yep.
Apparently, they turned up to this race with quite a lot of upgrades. So they replaced their floor. They did some aero upgrades, and according to Ted, they replaced the diffuser, and that means that they mean business.
Huh?
So,
Well,
what does the diffuser do, by the way?
sucks the car to the ground at the back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's pretty vital.
Pretty vital, probably just as vital as every other component. I
Yeah.
don't know what particularly makes that as a big talking point. Don't know if it's particularly expensive or a big thing to overhaul.
Probably only get to change it out 2 or 3 times, I guess, maybe. So doing a change.
Yeah, I
this
don't know. I think
early-
it's a fundamental. I think that's probably what he's on about. It's a fundamental part of the car.
Yeah.
Like you're changing a big aspect, and the way the Formula One cars work with their aero, it's from the very front of the end plate to the wing. It all works together.
Mm.
Every aspect has to work one another. So changing a big part of the car out is a big change to make. So
Yeah.
it's a big swing.
So
They must have been really unhappy with the performance of the car.
So Ted was right. It was scary stuff.
I'll agree with that. I think he's on the right track.
Hamilton looks like he's starting to come to grips with the Ferrari a little bit more. He didn't qualify great. He's kind of down in the mid pack for most of the race, but towards the end of the Grand Prix, he looked like he had figured it out. He's not on the same level as Leclerc, obviously, but maybe he's just starting to come to grips with that car after making the big change from Mercedes. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe next. Obviously, he's already got a sprint win, so we know he's capable of still having some speed. But
Yeah.
maybe he's getting.
Might not be the fairy tale year that we might have predicted for them.
No, yeah, it's not
Not
certainly
yet.
not looking like it.
So the other thing I picked up on, pricked my ears up.
Mm.
Brundle, talking about the cars and qualifying. Why would they go and call an apparatus on the car a pitot tube?
Pitot tube.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
pricked my ears up when I heard it, and I was like, oh, especially
Yeah, it
Poms as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
The way they speak, it kind of really
Yeah.
sent me in a certain direction. I was a bit concerned.
Bit nervous.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this?
It just picked my ears up. But while we're talking about quotes, I've got a top 5 for you.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
So,
Wow, nice and early.
nice and early. Top 5
Based off pedo.
pitot tubes.
Tubes.
Because I'm quoting
Yeah. Okay. This
the great
sounds
Martin Brundle.
sounds fascinating.
So top 5 quotes. Okay. These are movie specific, to be honest with you. So, number 5. Robert better not get in my face, because I'll drop that motherfucker. Do you know what that's from?
No.
No. Step Brothers.
Oh.
Oh,
yeah.
classic. One of your favourites, isn't it?
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
Step Brothers.
Number 4. If I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Ace
Ventura.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Number 3.
Come on.
How the hell did you get the beans above the Frank?
Oh no, I can't pick that one.
There's something about Mary. I thought you'd get these. These are some of my favourite movies.
I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah. It's classic.
Yeah.
Number 2. But what about male models?
Well, that would have to be Zoolander.
Yeah.
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 So wow, back to back Ben Stiller.
Yeah. It's just so good. All right, number 1. How about I just go eat some hay? I can make things out of clay and lay by the bay. I just may. What do you say?
Oh, I know it. I can't picture it though.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah, jeez. That's another movie I haven't watched in
Oh.
so long. I'll have to
There's
break
some
that one out again before the
absolute
sequel too.
classics. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice
So-
quick one for you.
From pedo tubes.
Yeah.
Nice work. Anything else on your walkthrough?
No, that's effectively it. A pitot tube, by the way, measures air pressure.
Oh yeah, thanks for clarifying that
Yeah.
up. Yep.
That's what he does.
And like, was like Peter like pedometer?
I don't want to. I don't know. I don't know. But the way it pricked my ears up, just watching qualifying, just trying to enjoy my day, and they start talking about pedo tubes and.
Yep. Real quick before we move on, we'll give a shout out to Flavio and Alpine finally getting off the Mark II. So
Yeah. Almost a
good
double.
on them. Almost a double. Poor Dylan.
Would have been.
He's having a rough start to his career, but there's some positives. We'll get into it.
Fantastic drive, not bad for a number 2 driver. Cheers.
But for now, let's rank our drivers.
Mhm.
All right. So, the noob of the week for me. Did Daddy's little boy get a fastest lap this Grand Prix?
Nope.
He did not. So his record extends further. Now 170 starts without a fastest lap. Lance
Awesome.
Stroll,
Awesome.
my noob of the week.
Got to rank those numbers up. That might be a back. That's a back-to-back, isn't it?
That's a back-to-back. Yep.
Oh, I've got a back-to-back as well.
No, actually, sorry, it wasn't. He was rookie last week. So,
Ah,
yeah, sorry.
bummer. Well, I got a back.
I think Hulkenberg was my...
Probably who cares. I got a back-to-back. Oh, for my noob, actually. Liam Lawson. Finished 16th, qualified and finished last of the Red Bull Cup.
Mhm.
2 penalties for driving infringements in 1 Grand Prix.
it's too many.
Pretty remarkable. I mean, come on, man. Like, find some racecraft. Like, seriously. And we saw the same thing in China through the sprint.
Mm.
I made a note of how particularly uninspiring he was with his overtakes.
He's a bit clumsy, isn't he?
Very. But to be fair, if they did show us the right replay where he got the first penalty, it's pretty rough considering what what Yuki did to Sainz and to get away with that.
Well,
So
he
I'm
got
not-
no penalty for that, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yuki.
Yuki got no penalty, even though he clearly, and we'll get into him, but he
So
really caused some havoc. Whereas
FIA clearly hate Lawson.
I'm almost convinced that Sky Sport, whatever, showed us the wrong replay because it was
Probably. Their
It
whole
was
broadcast this whole weekend was just
it was
dog shit.
isn't it?
They could not
isn't
get
it
anything together.
not as fun watching racing without timing. Doesn't it make it really hard to
Does.
watch and understand?
Yeah, I mean, like it's pretty vital information because
Yeah.
you can only really watch a car.
It's
at a
like
time on
being at the
screen.
racetrack almost. Not as cool.
Yeah.
But at the racetrack, you got no idea what's going on. You're just like, okay, like that looks closer. That was what it was like. It was like, I don't know actually what's going on here.
I will say I was never worried about Piastri and
No.
his gap.
No.
I knew he was always sweet, but
It was a bit of a surprise though when they did get some timing back, and it was like it was 7 seconds up the road all of a sudden. It was like, oh, geez, he's cleared out.
I heard it was all to do with the Mercedes, whatever, like his tracker or transmitter. I heard that was throwing everything off. So
I don't know. I mean, they were speculating that in the commentary box. I don't know if you heard. I don't know if, like, who said that? Is that something official?
just something I saw
Yeah, okay.
through the feed. So
Don't know. Either way, that doesn't even make sense to affect the whole grid and to the point where the timing tower on the display was
yeah,
not there. I mean,
maybe
they
it's one of those things where if they don't have his delta or whatever,
were so strange.
then it's
I mean, because they were manually inputting when they put up the top 10. It wasn't changing. They just put up a thing. Here's what you're up to.
like, all right, boys, break out the pen and paper.
Yeah, get at the stopwatch.
All right, rookie of the week goes to Hulkenberg for me. So
Sweet.
pointless.
Disqualified, actually.
Yeah.
better.
P13 he managed and then got DQ'd. Skid plate,
Another,
yeah, being undersized again.
Yeah.
So
strange.
But,
Can't blame excessive tyre wear this race either. The amount of pit stops they were getting up.
yeah, that's right.
So,
So yeah, he's my rookie. Not much to say about him.
yep. My rookie, Gabriel Bortoletto, his teammate. Sauber, bringing up the second last row of the grid. Finished
Shock.
18th.
Shock and awe.
last classified finisher. See last week for how it could be worse.
I don't know. I don't remember seeing any screen time of him, mate.
No, it was really hard for me to actually to decipher where to put him. I mean, I really want to put Liam last, so that helped.
Yeah.
And then he just had to fill in from there.
Okay, bronze ranking this week. I've got Isaac Hadjar. So
Bit of a slump, a little bit.
this race,
Mm.
yeah, I think he was
Wasn't overachieving.
no. I mean, he was a bit unlucky with the safety car. He got undone with that. So that probably hurt him more than anything. Didn't qualify fantastic. Like we've seen him kind of do the last couple of Grand Prix.
I think at a minimum he's doing what he needs to do, which is
Yeah, I don't think there's any cause for
finish.
concern.
Yeah, as long as he's finishing ahead of Liam, which is not too tricky.
Yeah, not super hard.
No.
It wasn't too far off Sonoda. Like Sonoda crept into the points. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think anything to be worried about. Just a bit of a nothing race and probably undone by strategy.
Yeah. All right, my bronze, I got Carlos Sainz Jr. Big old DNF. Thanks to Yuki. Left his signature in the side pod. But the biggest takeaway I had was he was showing some pretty poor racecraft. When he was getting
Bit sloppy
overtaken.
out there, wasn't
Yeah, when he was getting overtaken, he wasn't happy getting passed by one car.
he? Yeah.
He had to do something strange where he would have about 3 cars overtaken at once.
Yeah.
He'd run a funny line or get caught up mid-corner, and then he was just dropping spots left, right, and centre.
See, I thought the Williams still looked like they had decent pace as well. Like they still
yeah, I
looked
mean-
racy. So
He out-qualified Albon. First Williams in Q3s in Bahrain since 2017. So he did have quali pace, and I think we did note at one stage both Williams were in the points. At one stage, I think.
at one stage, yeah.
And obviously, the whole
And then they got undone by the
the
safety,
safety car cycle, all that sort of stuff, and then signs.
It seems like they were one of the biggest losers with that. Obviously, signs.
Well, yeah, actually, because they did run super long, I think, in the first stint, but then they didn't obviously get the benefit of having fresh tires for a longer time in the middle stint. So they, it kind of really did hurt them.
Yeah, and it seems like Haas were the benefactors of that more than anyone. So it was like the 2 Williams kind of swapped out for the 2 Haases with the little breakdown of strategy. Silver rank. Speaking of Williams, Albon. Got shafted by the FAA and missed Q2.
Yeah.
When do you ever see that? Like, how does that happen in a professional sport of this elite caliber? That you couldn't figure out that one of your drivers went off track and should have had his lap deleted.
I mean, it's all literally someone sitting in front of a screen with a camera deadpan on that line. So what happened? Smoke break? Did the camera lapse? Like, were they just like, it's a Sauber? I
feel for him.
Yeah, it's a very strange.
They just can't escape the bad juju, Williams, sometimes. You know,
Yeah, I mean, especially something like that. I mean, I don't know why he qualified like that car in 16th in the first place, if it was an anomaly. But there's a chance he's in the 10. You know, if he has a better run through Q2, all of a sudden it changes the whole weekend.
Well, that's right.
Based off something so silly.
More chance of finishing in points and keeping that run going. So,
I mean, if a Sauber was getting out of Q1, I'm thinking something weird happened to some cars around him.
well, yeah, that's right. Yep.
So,
Who do
Alright.
you have?
my silver rank is Fernando Alonso. Finished 15th, outperformed Lance Stroll. That's
Good enough to keep your
That's
seat.
all I've got. He was another one where you just didn't see him. He didn't do anything.
Like, honestly, what does Lance Stroll think of all this? Like, going race weekend to race weekend with your son effectively coming last or second last or third last. And then
He's got points. He's carrying
He's got-
Aston Martin
he's got points,
this
but
year.
the last 2 races have been not
It's been
great.
status quo. It's been back to the way
back to normal.
back to the way it should be.
Yeah. Well, I think he's more than anything. I think he's just not benefiting from a bit of good luck. I think he hasn't had that good luck. So now
And
he
now
hasn't
that
been sort of
Fernando's
elevated.
actually finishing races, he's now finishing behind
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah. Now he's actually learned how to finish a race.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think I know that they're essentially writing this year off. They're focused on next year, and Nui really has nothing to do with this chassis and blah blah blah. But like, surely it's got to be painful. Race weekend after
Especially
race weekend to
Fernando,
turn
like-
up and just nothing happen.
Yeah. Fernando's days have been ticking for years now.
Oh yeah.
It's yeah.
And they're paying him handsomely too. So gold rank we're up to now. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So gold ranking this week goes to Verstappen. So
Pretty lowly down there.
it's pretty low down there, and it's not really his fault. Like, to be honest, you can't really blame the guy.
I did notice you had a lot of drivers in the top half of the top 10.
Being that I handle the number 1 drivers, it's probably to be expected that the majority of the top 10 should be filled out by number 1 drivers.
Because the number 2 driver in a good team is still the number 2 driver in a good team.
Oh yeah. Not many this year though.
No.
So anyway, the reason why I have Verstappen down low, it's mostly a Red Bull thing. So I think I was saying last week, that they might be hiding a little bit of pace and they didn't look like an Alpine or anything. Well, this race they definitely looked like an Alpine, and they struggled to pass one for about 20 laps.
They put the sandbags back in that car.
They did. So one thing I found interesting is Verstappen has a shocking record at Bahrain. Before coming into this race, he has DNF'd at basically 4 out of 10 GPs. So something about
That's
Bahrain.
a high amount.
It is a high amount. Something about Bahrain, either he or Red Bull don't like.
I wonder if it's a Red Bull thing. I mean, I think Ricciardo had, towards the end of his tenure there, he had one race where he crossed the line practically on fire.
Oh,
Finish
yeah,
race.
with the engine blew, yeah?
Yeah. And then he had, I think his last season there, he had a DNF as well, engine failure.
Probably. His stint in the Red Bull wasn't.
So I think the team alone have had some poor luck there for whatever reason.
Yeah, so it's probably more a Red Bull thing than a Verstappen thing. I think I predicted him for a cheeky podium based off his form last week. It looked like, okay, the Red Bull might still have a lot of pace to give. He'll probably look to keep a bit of run of form going. Couldn't have been any more worse, really.
Unless all the other, I mean, you mentioned Ferrari brought upgrades. I don't know if McLaren brought upgrades and potentially Mercedes and just left Red Bull behind again.
Nothing that I've heard, but I will say, when was the last time you saw Max Verstappen dead last in a Grand Prix for any given amount of time?
Yep, couldn't tell you.
There was a time after his second pit stop.
Yeah,
he was
on pace.
20th.
Yeah, just on pace and through the pit stop cycle.
That's wild.
No, not via incident or nothing.
So Red Bull basically appear to be a bit of a mess at the moment.
Yeah, definitely struggling. Who could have predicted that? All right, for company in the gold department, he's got Jack Doohan, Aussie Jack Doohan. So I've got him this high. It's pretty high for him.
Well, gold, yeah.
Gold, yep. He missed out on Q3 by 18 thousandths of a second. Nearly got that Q3 berth. And again, he was running most of that race in 10th, 9th, 10th realm. Very close to a point. Not really sure what happened now. He dropped down to 14th.
Probably the safety car undone him as well.
Yeah, well, I think he was actually holding down 10th after. But it must have just been some quicker drivers or younger tyres. I don't know what the situation is. But bit of a shame he didn't get that point. Alpine, well, Renault. My apologies, Renault. Renault clearly had something of a bit of pace this weekend. So would have been nice for him to capitalise on that. And yeah, if he's got this 5-race contract.
Yep. He's
next race.
His time is up.
It's pretty do or die for him.
Yeah.
At a track that he probably hasn't been to before.
Yeah, I mean, look, 5 races or 6 races isn't a lot to try and come to grips with a car and tracks that you've probably never driven on, tracks you've never driven on in a F1 car. But it could be worse.
And
it could be Liam Lawson getting 2 races to try and
but at least
produce something. So,
but at least his contract is seems to be ironclad.
Yeah,
he's had this contract for 3 years now. You know, like I said, he might just have another 11-race contract, 12 half the race.
Yeah, because next week? After next week, then we have a break. Must be a 1 or 2 week. Must be a 1 week break.
I think I saw somewhere it's 7 races in 9 weeks. We're in the midst of.
Yeah,
so I reckon it's a 1 week
break.
break.
Yeah,
and then another couple of races, and then a 1 week break.
So I wonder if where do we go after Qatar?
I don't know.
It must be maybe we do head into Europe.
Might be like Spain and Monaco around that realm of tracks.
So I wonder if that was their thinking kind of before we move into that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right, platinum rank. So this week, platinum goes to Ocon. It's the highest I've had him.
Pretty high.
So Haas are now 5th in the constructors. Can you believe that? 5th.
It's a bit of a mess, hey. Besides Alpine, all the mid-teams are just randomly getting points.
Yeah. Well, yeah, except for Alpine, but now they're kind of
they've got some.
there.
Yeah, they got some points, but
yeah. So the only thing I can really put it down to is maybe he found some extra motivation when he learned that Haas are in tariff trouble over in the States. So now he's like, oh shit, every point is money. Like I gotta get points for my team, keep my seat. Otherwise, yeah, we might be going under.
This is a tariff-free pod. Right? No financials on this.
Hey, I got a report on all the news, and Haas are worried. Well, it looks like there might be a few teams that are worried about tariffs too.
Well, I've heard the tariffs have been lifted anyway.
Fine.
But regardless, Ocon's just a great driver. He was definitely here this weekend.
It was definitely there. Yep.
All right, my platinum. Lando Norris.
Platinum. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Finished third.
Yeah,
Whoop-de-doo-dah-day.
fitting.
Yep. Qualified 4/10 behind his teammate. That is a doozy.
Wow, it's almost
That's a doozy.
almost half a second.
Started outside of his pit box. You see all the things you were saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Passed Lewis off track. Had to get that position held back.
Yep.
Couldn't pass a broken ass Mercedes with a couple of laps to go.
Yeah.
That thing was a mess. What do you have? His fly-by-wire broke on his brake pedal. He had no dash. Clearly his timing was in tatters.
Lando's got a bit of a thing for overtaking off track, doesn't he? You know, he tried to do it last Grand Prix in
the grass.
the grass, and now this one as well.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't seem to have the awareness like other drivers of like, I know what I've done, so let me just go ahead and rectify it straight away.
No, he's just straight on the radio like he pushed me off.
Yeah.
The problem, they need to scrap the redress rule, I reckon. Like, if you want to do it, you've committed to it. You've committed to it. Like, unless you redress without your team getting involved, where they get to look at the cameras and decide, you either redress or just stop doing stuff on track and then calling it in and being like, oh, he did this and they did that. It's like, just keep the racing on track.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't do that and is maybe a bit smarter about it, doesn't fuck up the grid box issue.
It probably, gets to second.
Well, I was going to say that he doesn't have to make as much gap to Russell. I think Russell himself said if there was one more lap, he would have had me.
100%.
That right there, he cost himself. You know,
Yeah.
you don't think that missing your grid box by a couple of centimeters could essentially cost you a second place. That would carry on over through the whole Grand Prix, but it does. It can. It's a sport of fine margins, and such a stupid mistake. Like that is just.
And again,
shit.
like you say about the British media, straight away they're like, "Oh, it must be some problem with the bite point on the clutch. Like it wasn't his mistake. Like it.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, come on, come on. He didn't have his foot on the brake when he engaged. We've all driven manuals. We know they drive themselves a little bit when you put them in gear, right? That's all that happened.
Well, there's way worse drivers than Lando on the grid, and way more underexperienced drivers than Lando, who managed to cope.
Yeah.
You know, with
Just
lining up on the grid
Just
box.
put the
Okay.
clutch in all the way before you engage gear, right? Or,
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
He just absolutely just screwed the whole weekend up.
Look, what's going to be, I think right now, like we can speculate all we want on where his head's at and where his mentality's at and whatnot. But I think the key thing will be how he bounces back now and how he answers to Oscar. As I mentioned last pod,
Yeah.
Oscar bounced like after Australia. He came back with China and he
Perfect weekend.
And then, you know, he goes through the debacle of Suzuka.
Yep.
And how's the bounce back?
Perfect
Puts
weekend.
his head down, makes sure he qualifies well, and then just absolutely kills the whole weekend from start to finish.
Yep.
So I think it's return serve Norris. So, you know, I love shit talking Norris as much as the next guy, but
I'm stoked to finally get him this low. I mean, he hasn't been to the sterling highs of legend, but he also hasn't been this low. So
I don't even know what it is. Like, it's not even... Well, I do know what it is. I think I like the contrast of you've got two good drivers. One might appear like the better driver now out of the two, but they're in great cars right now. And it looks like realistically the title should go to one of those two guys, right? So we're on for a battle that should take us throughout the end of the year.
yeah,
But you got one guy who is constantly making excuses and constantly looking not comfortable, both in the car and outside of the car. And then you got another guy who has never looked more cool, calm, and just icy than ever before. It's like your switch is just flicked on. And he's like, all right, no more messing around. I'm here now.
yeah.
So
I mean, even on later, his press conference after qualifying was
brutal.
atrocious.
yeah,
Like,
that was Stroll
he
levels.
was treating the girl behind the microphone
Yeah.
like just terribly.
Yeah,
Like,
that was Stroll levels of disrespect.
yeah, like we've seen Max in the past be disrespectful towards media, but it's only when the FIA have pissed him off.
Yeah.
Like when
that's
they've
true.
done something, that's just he's doing it against the FIA, not against the media. All Lando did was not good enough, and then the media are doing their job. Why weren't you good enough? What happened? And he's just shrugging them off, being rude to him. It's like, well, that's not how it is.
Well, you would have seen as well. She asked him like, "What went wrong?" And he was like,
I didn't see that, but yeah, he was just fobbing them off like, oh, I don't know. And then how do you rebend? I don't know. It's tomorrow's a new day. It's like,
Yeah.
come
But
on,
even
like,
on the grid walk, Brundle was like, "Oh, Lando looks, more confident and more cheery, and all smiles and blah blah blah." And again, they're just straight back on to like, Lando's got his head in the game.
Yep.
He's not going away, and then he goes and makes all these stupid mistakes.
Yep.
And costs McLaren essentially a 1-2. That should have been a 1. If Suzuka should have been a 1-2, then this absolutely should have been a 1-2.
Isn't it funny? They've got the best car on the grid by a mile. Great, whatever. They've had 1-1-2 in 4 races.
Yeah.
Like they haven't exactly been. And Oscar takes some blame as well for Australia, but they haven't exactly maximised the year so far.
Okay, diamond rank. I have Charles Leclerc,
AKA Richard Hammond.
aka Richard Hammond. Yeah. So not a whole lot. As we mentioned, Ferrari got points. Probably missed an opportunity to get a podium, to be honest. It's a Ferrari strategy issue.
Yeah, the strategy
So,
tyre thing they did. Yeah.
Doesn't look like it's a driver issue. It's once again a Ferrari fuck up.
Yeah.
So
They could have held Lando off.
Yeah.
With a better set of tyres at him.
who you've got?
I've got Kimi Antonelli. Falls to the lows of diamond. Finished 11th. Looked likely for another top.
Can you call that low? I don't think you can.
I'm pretty high on him. This
Yeah.
is the lowest he's been. He's either been elite or legend
Yeah.
so far. Looked like another top 6 finish, but poor strategy, then victim of the safety car.
Yep.
And victim of Carlos Sainz with a dive bomb down that turn 8. That just random wide, carted 2 or 3 cars through both
Cost
of
him
them.
a lot of time, didn't it? Yeah.
To the point where Sainz got a 10-second penalty for it. So
Yeah.
absolutely in the wrong, and just cost Kimi at a pivotal moment. Grid's completely chocked up after that safety car, so he gets parked wide, sees him coming, does a really good job to not get turned into, survives, but loses 2 or 3 spots at a time you really don't need it. So
It was,
finishes 11th, doesn't get points for the first time in his career.
It was lose time or lose your car.
Yeah,
Made
So,
the right decision.
made the right decision, but not a good move from Sainz. But yeah, Kimi diamond.
All right. So master rank this week goes to Pierre Gasly. First points for Alpine, as we mentioned. So their guy finally pulls through. No disqualifications, no silliness. He qualified really well. Kept Max behind him for 20 odd laps. Did lose it at the end there. That sucks that he lost it. Did all the hard work for so many laps to keep Max behind him, and then lost it at the end. But overall, I think Pierre had a good race. I think he can be stoked.
Bit higher,
What
bit
do you
higher in the
achieve?
ranks than I'd expect, but I think
But he's my driver. You just worry about your own drivers. I'll take care of my number ones. You take care
no,
of your number
just saying.
twos.
I think Leclerc might have deserved that master spot, to be honest. But
Well,
whatever,
He's in diamonds. To deal with it.
whatever.
Who do you
All
have?
right, so my master
Mhm.
is Yuki Tsunoda.
Okay.
9th,
Yeah.
points finish for the first time in that car this season.
Good on him.
For that side of the garage.
Yep.
Only 3 spots and 11 seconds behind Max. Absolutely close the margin up on what they have on the differential of those 2 cars.
That's a good point.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, you got just a shocking overtake on Sainz and ripped Sainz's car apart and forced him into a DNF and didn't get penalised somehow.
Bit of luck there.
Regardless, he's my master. He's finally.
I think I saw that's the first point the second Red Bull seat had scored
Since
Vegas. Yeah.
24, yeah. So I
So-
brought that up last week. If you were listening and paying attention,
Well, that's what I'm referencing.
you heard that from me.
Clearly, that's what I'm referencing. So good
Yep.
job. Good
Yep,
job
thank
on
you.
doing your job.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, only 3 spots behind Max. That's pretty telling.
Yeah.
So
Even if he's still in the
Yes.
mid pack, but
well, they both are.
they
So-
both are. Elite rank this week goes to your favourite driver, George Russell. An audacious second place.
That cracked me up.
If it's not blimey, it's some other bullshit like
Yeah.
audacious. Who
Yeah.
uses the word audacious in 2025?
24 laps on the soft's a bit audacious.
Yeah.
So, man, come on. Come on, man.
Finished-
I love that the commentary team really grappled onto it too.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
couldn't
how
help,
can you
they
not?
couldn't help
That's-
themselves, but
I mean, that's a word that who throws that word around, let alone when you're in a cockpit of a car doing 300 kilometers an hour around
Yeah.
a track.
Yeah.
So
audacious.
he finishes ahead of a McLaren. That's, you know, over the last few weeks, I think we've been having a bit of a chuckle about how he's really just kind of been doing nothing and just been the last guy standing and collected a couple of podiums, and he's, you know, a bit of a dark horse for a potential championship contender. But he
He's got
finished
more
ahead of
composure.
McLaren.
He's got more composure than Lando.
Certainly does, doesn't he? He must have had every engine light flashing on the dash by the end of the race, because it just seemed like that thing was falling apart and it was limping to the line. So I commend him. You know, I don't commend him much at all on this podcast or you know, when we're talking about it, but for that he kept Lando behind him, managed his failing Mercedes. It was looking a bit more like a Beamer out there.
Yeah.
And I do have to look, I did think about giving him legend rank. I mean,
No, you didn't.
I didn't, but for half a second I did, but then I remembered he took his shirt off in the cool down room, and I was like, he loses points for that instantly.
Had
Like,
to get the rig out.
had to get the rig out. He knew he was on camera. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I guess the cool suit was just too hot for him. He
You
had
know
to get the cool suit off.
he's actually lucky I don't bump him down to master and give Gasly elite
Yeah.
for that move.
Yeah. Just
So-
keep your shirt on.
But yeah, gets the
Who are you
rig
trying
out.
to impress? He was sweating up a damn storm though. Watching that post race.
For a skinny dude, he
Normally
sweats hard.
Normally they get out and they're very athletic, very fit people. Obviously.
Meanwhile, you've got Oscar like not having a drink the whole race or whatever, and he still looks icy cold. So
George got out and he was actually pouring with sweat.
Yeah.
So that was a bit different to see. All right, my elite is Ollie Behrman.
man, you love this kid, eh?
I love the rookies. It's actually a really good rookie class for the most part.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, he qualified dead stone motherless last. Drove back to 10th to get a single point. Double points finish for Haas, as you may have mentioned a few times. They are 5th in the Constructors' Championship, and he's now a contributor.
What a turnaround for this kid. Again, you just go back to Australia and it's just how it was looking bad. It was looking, I'm sure everyone at Haas was nervous that they were in for a long season and potentially already, you know, calling up drivers.
I don't remember how his Australia went. It was that long ago, and he is a little bit disinteresting to me being in Haas, but good race. It was cool to see him in 10th, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just waiting for for Jack to get his chance for that points finish. All the rookies are on their way there, besides Lawson.
Is he the only...
No, Lawson.
He hasn't scored any points as well. Yeah, cool. Great company to be in. All right, so that brings me to my legend of the week, which obviously goes to Oscar Piastri. So he's clawed back his championship deficit after the Australian Grand Prix, as we mentioned, to be within 3 points of leading the world within 3 points of the leader, still being Lando.
And he's got count back.
He's what?
He's got count back.
Count back? What do you mean?
Because he's got more wins. So if they end up
okay,
tied,
so they'd buy...
he'll have that, which is just a nice thing to have early on.
Yep. I'm glad you're thinking about that, because I certainly wasn't. If and when he takes the lead, he'll be the first Australian to do so since Webber in 2010, as we mentioned, his mentor and manager. So it's very exciting times to be an Australian and a Piastri fan, wherever you might be following him from.
Absolute great race, that one.
Good things to come.
Very much worthy of the legend rank.
Absolutely. He's my legend.
So my legend is Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Wow, that's incredibly kind of you.
What am I supposed to do? He was my second highest finisher, and Lando was the first highest finisher.
If you break down your 10 drivers,
but my first note here that I've got is because who else?
Well,
literally,
that's what I was about to say. I mean, who else really can you give legend to?
Yeah, benefited early on from a rare good Ferrari strategy, and then, as we know, that turned into a bad Ferrari strategy, which hurt him at the end. They should have differentiated the strategies. They shouldn't have locked themselves into having to run the hard at the end. All sorts of stuff they could have done differently to get both Ferraris. Both Ferraris honestly should have finished ahead of your favourite driver there, Lando, but didn't happen. But legend rank, nonetheless.
Probably fitting because he somehow got voted as driver of the day.
Oh man, that is corrupt. I reckon that's corrupt.
Yeah. So maybe he is a legend after all. Somebody, big group of people obviously think so.
Well, I didn't give Yuki legend rank last week for getting the driver of the day, so my opinions aren't solely based on driver of the day.
And so they should.
I don't think a winner of a Grand Prix this season has been voted driver of the day,
they haven't. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is just remarkable.
The other thing as well, if we're talking little stats, every driver that has put it on pole has gone on to win the race so far this year. So
The race was won on Saturday these days.
I was just going to say, maybe there's a bit of an issue with F1 racing as it is. Maybe it's still all about qualifying. So
Yeah.
Yep. Move of world champion, that one.
all right, that wraps up ranked. So we'll hand out some achievements before we close up with the Sunday sesh.
Yep.
So achievements. First trophy I have is the Legacy Trophy. Okay.
Okay.
Awarded for holding a record or achievement for an extended period of time. This one goes to Pedro Della Rosa.
Ooh, okay. This is interesting.
After the completion of the 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix, Pedro's lap record stays intact.
Really?
Yep. Fancy a guess? What year? And what car? I don't know how much you know of Pedro.
Well, I'd have to say,
Car?
Peugeot.
2005. So that's a 20-year standing record
Yeah.
in a McLaren.
Wow. I do have to say, I think the track's changed.
Possibly, but he still has
Yeah.
the lap record.
But I'm pretty
nonetheless.
confident the track has actually changed.
Yeah.
So it's probably never going to be broken. So.
Yeah, true.
But
good point.
it's
maybe worth
it's,
looking into.
Pretty cool, I guess. All right, my first trophy. World Star Trophy unlocked for completely outplaying someone in a flashy manner. This is given to Charles Leclerc for his duel with Lando. Held off the throttle through turn 2, just enough to delay Lando getting any kind of a run on him into turn 3 after that second DRS zone. Shows great racecraft. Just great racecraft.
He's one of the highest IQ
Yeah.
drivers out there, isn't
He
he?
may have lost the war, but he won that battle.
Yeah.
It's perfect because, like I said earlier, you got that the way those two DRS zones work. If you defend into one,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they've got the better line to get a really good run out of 2, and they'll get each up into 3 easy.
You just want to slow him up, don't you?
Yeah,
And
which
then
Lando was eyeing off, but then you
Get a
could
good
hear
exit.
on board the throttle. Leclerc's holding off the throttle all the way through 3 and just effectively blocking Lando to the point where Lando's got to let off the throttle. Bang! That's when Charles goes.
that's experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's racecraft. It's racecraft. That's what you need to.
It's racecraft. It's experience of having been there half a dozen times before and knowing what you can do where on track.
And
to
we've seen
defend.
some tricky things from Leclerc in the past. I mean, you might
Yeah.
remember a couple of years ago with Verstappen, one of the tracks, I don't remember which one, but coming up to the DRS line, they're both almost coming down to walking speed to be the car behind at the
to get the DRS.
corner, but they both did it at the exact same time.
Yeah.
You know, so he's witty. He knows what's going on. He's a smart young chap.
High IQ. Okay, my second trophy or my second achievement is the Bugged Trophy. Earned when a glitch, bug, or broken game mechanic causes something unintended. This one goes to the Driver of the Day award.
Oh yeah,
Seems to be busted,
yeah.
especially with Lewis getting it this round. I don't know what it means
Could have
anymore.
given it to the winner who
Yeah.
almost had a grand slam if it wasn't for the pit stop cycle allowing a driver to get a couple of laps in the lead.
Yeah.
Almost had a grand slam, which is
But no,
incredibly rare.
Lewis coming fifth apparently is Driver of the Day worthy. So
Unbelievable. Did they get the graphic right this week?
they did.
Griefing trophy.
It wasn't him in a Mercedes outfit.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
That would have been really good. They didn't expect him to get any faster slaps, so they didn't update the graphics.
Yeah.
Griefing trophy for intentionally annoying or sabotaging other players. This goes to Liam Lawson for constantly crashing into his rivals on track.
I reckon you've had a trophy awarded to Lawson every round this year.
Well, he's not
far.
racking up the silverware on the track, so
No.
he's got to get it from
Oh,
somewhere.
it's nice of you to be kind to him.
Yeah.
Because he
Okay.
doesn't have many fans out there, I don't think.
Can't wait till it's 10 years up.
All right. Well, that brings me to my last achievement. You're gonna love this one.
Well, keep me on the edge of my seat.
The Loadout Trophy. Earned by customizing your weapons or gear. This one goes to Sir Lewis Hamilton and his new hairdo.
Yeah, he took out the braids, huh?
Wow. Did not expect to see that, and I don't know how I feel about it. I cannot tell if it looks good or if it looks hilarious. I'm leaning more into the looks kind of hilarious.
I've seen a lot of comparisons
Yeah.
on Facebook and all that. Otto, in Simpsons is the biggest one that's been coming up, and it's bang on.
Otto, but more almost like Latina Otto or something, or like Mexican Otto.
Yeah, I suppose.
Even though he's not.
Well, Lewis Hamilton, his hairdo went from bald, or balding, leaving McLaren, to all of a sudden so much hair, braids. He's had braids. I swear he's had braids like the whole time he was at Mercedes. He's always had the braids in.
Look, there's quite an image burned. It's seared into my brain with him scootering down the pit lane with his curly flocks, flying in the back there.
Maybe I should give him a nod to the Ralph Schumacher out of the car.
I'm starting to wonder. What was the one you sent me? Easy.
Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah. That's funny.
Your last trophy?
Yeah. The assist trophy, granted for supporting teammates and helping secure a victory. This is given to the Ferrari teammates for boxing Lando in after the restart, allowing Lewis to go through, even if it was just for a short time. Still a great play.
Yeah, that was a good play. Yeah.
Again, Charles racecraft.
Yeah.
Just slow up Lando a little bit into turn one for Lewis to be able to slingshot around the outside, and together they conquer.
I feel for those Ferrari boys. I mean, honestly, you've got one driver who thought he was going to be the one to bring prestige back to the boys in red, and he's come on over and he's just did not realize how much of a shit show it is.
Well, he had some positivity on the radio this week, which is remarkable.
I wonder if someone had a chat to him, or
immediately followed up by, "These tyres suck."
Yeah. It lasted not very long. Lasted probably a few laps, but a little bit of positivity for once. And then you got Charles, who's probably the most tormented driver on the grid. Let's be honest. I'm sure that when he was made Ferrari's guy, he thought he's got it made. His path is laid out for him. But it has just been nothing but...
I mean, look at his Ferrari teammates. A 4-time world champion in Sebastian Vettel. Bit of a rough go.
Yeah.
Gets signs, but then loses signs to a 7-time world champion in Lewis Hamilton. So he's had some company.
He has. All right. That wraps up achievements for the week. So Sunday sesh.
Sunday
Wrap it up.
I am stupid. I switch off everything.
All right. So this is a multiple choice. Make it a bit easier for you this week. Again.
Easier? I mean, I've got a nice lead, don't I?
Yeah, we'll see.
So I've been coping all right.
Yeah, true. I've got to make it less easy for you, don't I?
Oh.
So if you get it right, obviously you are a true F1 fan. If you get it wrong,
An F1 purist.
you're a Drive to Survive
bandwagoner.
fanboy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our fan base, the box bashers, just get the opposite. Is what it is. All right. On this day, a motor racing icon was born. You hear his name almost every racing weekend in categories all across the globe. He started 86 F1 races. He had 4 wins. He is renowned for designing an element on race cars that sits atop the rear wing. He named it after himself, the something flap. Any ideas before I give you the 3 options?
I know I've definitely heard the name before, but I haven't.
I was pretty excited when I saw that it was his birthday today.
I haven't paid enough attention to it. So which component is it? The flap on the rear wing?
It's a tiny little, just a small additional element that sits on top of the rear wing. But it's not just Formula One cars. It's pretty much every.
He's responsible.
He designed it. He come up with the concept.
Yeah,
but then, whether it's Australian, tin top racing here, Formula One, NASCAR, they all run this.
And it's called the same thing.
It's all called the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't have any names that are coming to mind.
All right. Your 3 candidates. These are 1960s because he was from the 60s. I should have mentioned. These are 3 drivers from the 60s from the same era.
All right.
A. Denny Hulme. B. Dan Gurney. Or C. Bruce McLaren.
Well, I'm going to assume happy birthday B. Dan Gurney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
The Gurney flap.
The Gurney flap. Yeah.
The
See,
Gurney
I've definitely heard that. So what part of the...
It's literally, so you got the rear wing,
Yeah.
and then it'll come up. It's non-adjustable, nothing. It just a little bit that just sits on top of the flap, just that tiny little bit more,
For
just
like-
flick up kind of thing.
for downforce?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just an additional element that sits on top of the rear wing.
Gurney.
Gurney flap.
Oh, happy birthday to him.
Dan Gurney. He has passed.
Yeah.
He's, like I said, 1960s racer. He's
Yeah.
had some days behind him, but yeah, happy birthday to Dan Gurney.
So I get another point this week.
You do. I got to start making these harder. That's clear.
Hey, I appreciate the layups.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
we can't be on a
Alley-oops.
podcast looking like DDS bandwagoners.
No.
So. All right. Well, that's wraps up the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yep.
I'm gonna get some sleep after
Mhm,
pretty much pulling an all-nighter to watch
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Would
Well, you got a lot of
would do it
editing to
again. A lot of yeah. Well, Chris does. I
Yeah.
mean, but
Yeah, you're right.
I'll probably hang
My
out with Chris
apologies.
and help him get it done. But we got Qatar, so the last
next
race of a triple header.
Yep.
So be interesting to see. Can Norris make it interesting? Can he counter blow
Mm.
Piastri there, or
We'll see. We'll
can Piastri keep his run of form going?
see. We'll see. Can't wait to get there. And
Alright, yep.
good luck to your Warriors in the
Well,
play-in.
I'm a little bit nervous. Thanks for bringing it up. All right,
All right.
GG's.
All right. We'll talk to you.
What the fuck are we doing here? What a stupid action. I'm going home.